right, come with me now to Florida. Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. We are following the trial against Charlie Adelson. He is accused of hiring hitmen and conspiring to kill former FSU law professor Dan Markel. He was fatally shot in his driveway of his Tallahassee home in 2014. Prosecutors say it was just an ugly custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson. That's the defendant's sister. So you got all of those key players in place. Let's catch up now on more testimony. You know her, you love her. Wendi Adelson was on the stand most of yesterday, the first day of trial, back again today. Let's go in for some of her direct testimony.
After pulling the plug on the house, there were some emails where you were saying you can't answer the phone, you're crying too hard about the house. Like you seem genuinely upset about pulling the plug on the house, but now you don't remember it?
Well, it's been 10 years,
Sure.
So a lot of terrible things have happened since then. It's hard to remember.
Don't recall.
I really liked the house and was excited about it, but it was more than I can afford at the time. That's what I remember, is talking with the real estate agent and having her say we'd find another house, and it wasn't the right one.
Would you have any reason to dispute that occurred on Halloween of 2013?
No, it probably did. I just don't remember.
Okay, and then a few months later, on February 14th of 2014, there was another filing. I want to draw your attention to page 379. I'm going to ask you what that document is.
Do you want me to read the title of the document?
Yes, please.
Former husband's counter motion to enforce marital settlement agreements, financial provisions, and incorporated motion for sanctions.
Do you remember this filing?
I don't remember this filing, but in anticipation of my testimony today, I refreshed and reread it.
Okay, and he accuses you in this filing of breaching the marital settlement agreement in various ways, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and committing a fraud upon the court by omitting the $200,000 in assets from your financial affidavit?
That is what he
there?
was alleging.
And asked the court to sanction you?
Yes, that's what he said.
Okay, so again, you're both seeking the court to sanction each other. I mean, them's fighting words and lawyer terms, right?
Well, I was filing a motion to enforce a settlement agreement, so I don't think that's really fighting words. That's just asking the court to complete what it already said it wanted to do.
Okay, I'm kind of watering down the impact, Philip, of what that was all about. Yeah, it's just some of that lawyer stuff, making a motion. I mean, when you go to that extreme to argue that somebody has violated a settlement agreement, that's not just lightweight arguing. That's pretty intense to get the court involved.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what it proves. Again, it's just all a bunch of distractions. You know, if Wendi were the one who was on trial, I would agree. But right now, I don't see a nexus between all of this and Charlie. Frankly, I just think it's too attenuated to say that this is legally relevant, that it tends to prove that Charlie is guilty of murder. I just don't see it. I don't know if Catherine agrees, or maybe if there's another take on her testimony, but I just think they're going way too far afield.
Well, let's find out. And there was some of the language in that settlement agreement that I'm surprised wasn't objected to, and maybe it was prior, they discussed, and because it's pretty inflammatory, and it is technically irrelevant. But Catherine, what about using this information and this witness to prove that there was a motive to kill Dan Markel, and then at some point it's going to be connected to Charlie rather than Wendi?
I think that's where they're trying to get at with Wendi, because if you look at her on the stand, she's holding this big binder, and that was the binder that the prosecutor handed to her as to all the legal documents that she and Dan Markel had during their divorce proceeding. It's a good visual demonstrative evidence of how acrimonious their divorce filings were. They're trying to establish that, and also the questioning as to her on the stand that we saw in the clip, they're trying to again establish how much fighting was going on between the two of them, which I believe will be related to Charlie Adelson later on, because Charlie supposedly joked to her that my gift to you it'll be easier to hire a hitman than buy you a TV. for your divorce proceeding success.
Yeah, that could be where they're going. I don't know. We're going to have to see. Producer Juliana, are we going to take a break, or are we going to go back to more court? I had a lot of voices in my head at the same time, and I didn't say anything. Okay, let's go back for more testimony then.
That motion for contempt, she asked you if he could be put in jail. You have no idea, right?
I didn't remember whether that's what contempt meant, but
You were just seeking the court to enforce its previous order, right?
that's correct.
Now remember you said that during these filings, this is the same exhibit, that you thought you talked about some other things and Ms. Kappelman said, nah, it's not in there. Remember that?
I do.
I'm going to draw your attention. This is State's Exhibit 56. I'm going to draw your attention to page 187. And I want you to read this paragraph for the jury.
Okay. The wife has been very unhappy in the marriage and filed her petition for dissolution of marriage in August 2012. The husband continues to characterize this as an abandonment of the family. At no time has the wife abandoned the children. She is divorcing the husband due to her unhappiness with him and the marriage, and she only moved out of the home because she knew the husband would not. The husband's statement of abandonment are unfounded and not supported by fact or law. He is simply having difficulty accepting her decision. In fact, he is having so much difficulty that he has told several of her colleagues and friends that she must have mental health issues.
You should stop there.
Okay.
Do you remember telling Ms. Kappelman that you remember filing something like that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's talk about some procedural issue here, Catherine. This was cross-examination. What we had heard prior was direct, but sounded a lot like cross-examination. There may have been some previous ruling that she could be treated, Wendi Adelson could be treated as a hostile witness. Were you surprised at all that the direct was almost, if not more contentious than the cross?
I am surprised because this is the cross of the defense of Charlie Adelson, and we know Charlie is his brother or her brother. So why are they acrimonious against her? But then again, the lawyers procedurally, if we're talking about this in the procedural level, they have the duty and diligent defense against Charlie, who is their client, not really Wendi here.
So, yeah, even just seeing her stride through the well of the court to testify, it was just, there's just a whole attitude about this woman. I mean, that's with purpose right there. Philip, I know you don't even think she should be testifying, but what do you think about the use of all of these, these custodial agreements and the interaction between her and Dan Markel? Is it just too tenuous for you?
Well, I think to convict Charlie, yes. But I got to tell you, they're building a little mini Library of Congress to get her. And the more she talks, I think the more fodder they're going to have to post-conviction in the Charlie Adelson case come after her. So if I were her, I would just, zip it, assert the fifth, and say nothing. But the more she offers, I think the deeper she digs herself into a hole, frankly. But I think in some ways she gets some type of satisfaction out of this. I think in her mind she's diverting attention away from her and trying to create a motive for someone to want to kill her ex. And I think they're also, or she's trying to in her own way show that he may have had other people who were after him because he was impossible to live with. Who knows? It could have been a disgruntled student at the university who got a poor grade. She's trying to show that somebody else out there may have found this guy just as loathsome as she found him.
Yeah, and we know that the defense is suggesting that it was all a blackmail scheme, and that's why Catherine Magbanua, the former girlfriend of Charlie Adelson, and her associate, Sigfredo Garcia, were basically extorting money, and that led to the murder. So, man, this jury's got their hands full. By the way, we've learned that there are 7 women, 8 men on this jury. 3 are alternates, not identified yet. Maybe a factor, maybe not. Let's take a break. We'll come back more on this case out of Florida when we come right back.